Good morning, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Hey Samuel, good morning, how you doing? I'm not Lord Jin, just call me Jin. I'd love to be a Lord, not yet, maybe. Hello, hello, hello. Hey Mark, how you doing? Good morning. Just let me make sure everything is working good, fine and dandy. Okay, seems to be working all right. We give it a minute or two before we get started. It is a Friday the 16th of February. Okay, good. 1 or 2 minutes before we get started. Here we go. Okay, good. Hey Angel Case, how are you doing? If you're on the session, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. For all the regulars, a big welcome back. Mark said we survived Valentine's Day. No, I did notice a couple of our regulars are not on the session, so I'm not sure how many people actually did survive Valentine's Day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure we all did fine. Alrighty. KLE, pleasant morning to you. How are you doing? Hey, Trip EK Bala, how are you doing? All right, let's keep going. So good morning, good afternoon to everyone who is on the session. If you're new to the session, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. We are at the end of the week. We've had a quiet, well, a big session and then a quiet session, trading session after that. So today might be a little bit of the same thing. We look forward to looking for some possible trade setups. If you do have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. And if you can help me out massively, do remember to click that like and subscribe button on whichever platform you are joining me on right now. Okay? And I'm sure you can hear me okay and see me all right. If any sound or visual issues come up, do put it into the chat and let me know as well. Now, a quick disclaimer, any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only. The contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, so please remember that your objectives, financial situation and needs has not been considered and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Good morning, Pips Apprentice, how are you doing? Let's keep going. Okay, so what happened since the last time we spoke? One thing I forgot to mention yesterday was that with the UK GDP, we spoke about this during our session yesterday. UK GDP month to month came out at minus 0.1%. One thing I forgot to highlight to you guys was the preliminary GDP quarter on quarter was released at minus 0.3%, right? Preliminary GDP for the UK, quarter on quarter at minus 0.3%. If you look at November, it was 0. August before that was at 0.2. So we're on the first quarter of and this was revised, okay? So it was 0 and it was revised from 0 to minus 0.1. So when it's 2 consecutive quarters of a negative GDP, minus 0.1 and minus 0.3. When you have 2 consecutive quarters of a negative GDP, that's when it's considered as a technical, or is technically considered as a recession. That's why the headline here, the UK fell into recession at the end of 2023, right? This is for the last quarter. So we've had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, leading to market analysts viewing the UK economy as having entered into a technical recession. And that's why on the pound dollar, we saw that push on release of the news, but the dollar weakened and we saw that push right back up again. Okay, so that's one reason why we saw a drop, a more significant drop on the dollar, given that quarter-on-quarter GDP number being released. Okay, makes sense? Hey Lindy, good afternoon. Made money on the yen. I did too, so happy for that. Anyone else got into the yen? Let me know. With that, we had very surprising news here for the US retail sales number. I was telling you that, hey, I didn't think it was going to drop that much, but retail sales number for the US, retail sales number here for the US, it was 0.6, revised down to 0.4, expected minus 0.2, came out at a minus 0.8. Big drop in retail sales, and this is a change in the total value of sales at the retail level. Almost signaling that, hey, the people in the US are not spending at the consumer level, right? They're not spending at consumer level. Together with core retail sales, which excludes automobiles, it went from a 0.4 to a minus 0.6. So very sharp, or not very, but a relatively sharp drop in terms of retail spending, consumer spending here. Many factors leading to that. Firstly, it could be after the strong number. So if you look at that, you know, in January we saw a 0.6 because of the December festive period. We saw a jump in the retail sales number. So now, you know, festivities over, everyone's done buying Christmas presents. Retail sales number drops. It's back to tighten the purse strings. And also another reason was that there was terrible weather in the US, from what I was reading. So it's the storms, it's the weather in the US leading people to stay more likely stay at home than to go out and do their consumer spending, right? And that's why we see a big drop here in the retail sales number and also the core retail sales number here for the US. Because of this too, you can see this was at 9:30 p.m. was relatively a big surprise here. 9:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, where these two bad retail sales numbers came out. We saw the dollar index at 9 drop. So it was sitting right there, looking pretty, thinking that it could bounce, and then it just went from 104.55. The dollar index went straight down within 2 hours, down to as low as 104.22 before bouncing back slightly and consolidating right now at that 104.38 or 104.40 level. Okay, so that's why we saw that big drop on the dollar, and that negated what we were expecting for that bounce. I was hoping for a slightly stronger number leading to a bounce, but now we see that pushing lower. Okay, so that was what happened with the US on the retail sales number, leading the dollar index to drop rather significantly. Hey Christina, good morning, how are you doing? Hey Nav, good morning. Hey Like Pio, hello, how are you doing? Now, hey Judy, how are you doing? Okay, now with that, in addition to that, we've had, where was that? We've had, there we go. Remember Waller speaking at 2:15 a.m. GMT plus 8, where we saw, let me find that headline again. There was some comment about, where we go. I'm just trying to find it. Give me a second. Give me a couple of seconds. There we go. There was some comment about the Fed's possibly considering a let me see, rates. No, there we go. So there was not Waller, right? The Fed likely to consider rate cuts soon, but doesn't face urgency. Okay, so that was the one headline, and because of that, if you look at the CME Fed Watch tool, I said I'm not going to look at this too much, but I keep coming back to it because it does have still have some relevance. It's actually gone, despite what he said, it's gone from 10 to 8.5, now 91.5% likelihood that the Feds are going to keep rates on hold. Okay, still looking at beyond March at this point. Likely in May, but seems like we're coming towards a June timeline. I would love to see at least some action in May, because I feel that the dollar index is suffering without the action, without any further actions from the Feds. It's trying to find a direction, but it's just suffering trying to develop that next move. Now we just had the UK 12 minutes ago retail sales number being released. It was, look at that, minus 3.2, got revised slightly downwards to minus 3.3, expected 1.5, a massive move, 3.4% on the retail sales number for the UK. But we saw, if I show you this on the 5-minute time frame, or 1 minute even, we saw a big push to the upside and then now retracing back down. You see why? It's also because it shot up way outside the Bollinger Band, came right back in again. I still do think that there might be further upside on the pound dollar, especially on the H1 time frame, but we'll go into that shortly when we come to the pound. Okay, so that was the news just released. Following on from all this, you have a bit of a breather all the way through to 9:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, where we have PPI, which is the which is the Producer Price Index, another component of the CPI, right? The PPI likely to go from a minus 0.1 to a 0.1. I actually think that it might not be at 0.1, it might stay at a minus 0.1. We might see a bit of a downside on the PPI, from the PPI leading to the dollar index. Okay, so that's one news we want to pay attention to. I'm not expecting a huge surprise, despite how the US CPI was a bit higher. I'll show you US CPI again. Where was it? On Tuesday, CPI climbing slightly to the upside. That's why. So you can see 3.4, expected 2.9, 3.1. So it did not drop as much as expected despite slowing down. Now looking again back to the PPI, that's one reason why they're expecting a bit of a bounce here. I think that it would come out relatively flat as previous, which could lead to, or most likely lead to, further downside on the dollar index. I'm losing my voice as well after 1 week. Then to end the week, we have the preliminary UOM, University of Michigan consumer sentiment was 79, expected 80, not expecting a big surprise here to end the week. Okay, so with that, into next week, Monday is going to be President's Day on Monday, and then probably going to see a bit more volatility from Tuesday onwards. With that, now looking at the charts, dollar index currently at 104.37. We can see that 23.6 is broken. 38.2 was where it dropped to yesterday and bounced. Okay, so what we need here, what do we need here from the dollar index is, if we're going to see further downside, if we're going to see further downside on a dollar index, it needs to break this 38.2 level. Okay, I'll check this as well. It's bounced up to just before that 38.2 level before pushing back down again. Okay, so what I have here on the dollar, just trying to draw it up. We have that as our support turned resistance area. Right, we have our 38.2 right where it bounced at this point here. And then our next level here, which is very close to that 61.8 level right there. In fact, I'll be happy to call this a bit of a support level. Good morning, Diana. How are you doing? So with this, hang on, let me just check something. All right. With this now, I'm a bit biased right now. Okay. Why I say that is because I would like to see some strength back on the dollar. Right? I would love to see some strength back on the dollar, but I don't see any reason why we could see that push. Right? There's no news that could lead to the dollar index climbing back up unless PPI comes out a lot stronger. Unless PPI comes out at a 0.3, 0.4 number, then we could see it bounce, but I don't see that happening. So actually with that, I actually do think that we might see the dollar index push back down. This was where we were on Monday. We started here. If we look at for this week, from the low to the high of this week, it's retraced quite a bit already. I don't need that actually. So it's retraced quite a bit already. Okay, so what I'm looking for here on the dollar index would be today being the 16th. Dollar index. See, yesterday we were saying it needs to stay above this for that upside, but we did not see a good retail sales for it to bounce. Right now is a flip. It needs to stay below 104.60, which is right there. Right, below 104. I'm losing my voice. Okay, below 104.60 to stay right there. For further downside, need to stay below 104 for further downside. Break 104.20 to test, retest 103.75. Okay, so there we have it. It needs to go, if it stays below this point, it needs to come down, and only if it breaks below this level, we could see it come down towards that 103.75 support level. All right. Let me just check again. Trend line, nothing, right? So I was just thinking whether there is a level here, which could be this, which could also lead to why we think that it could come down to this level. Good morning, Kalinzi. How are you doing? In the shorter term for this trend line, I wouldn't do that. It looks like it's going to break. Okay, so I'm happy with that. It is showing a bit of a push back down. I'll keep that view here for the dollar index. Now, does that make sense? If it does, put it into the chat. Let me know if it's all good. Hey, Amar Jamil, how are you doing? Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Now with this, looking at the Kiwi, right? This was what we were talking about. Sitting in that consolidation, looking for it to push up towards that 61.8, and that trend line is done that exactly before pushing back down. I was so tempted this morning thinking, it's dropping, it's dropping. Is it going to trigger? No, it didn't. Take that away. Consolidation taken away as well. 38.2 taken away as well, right? 61.8 remains at this point. In fact, I'll be happy, I'll be okay if I take that away as well. Kalinzi, no, I haven't done euro dollar. That will come in later. So I'll take that away. And what I would consider now is that if the dollar does continue to push to the downside, then what you'll be looking for is for price to break above this trend line to trade up towards that resistance level. Right, so Kiwi well within the range. So in this case, we have yesterday's high right there. You'd be looking for dollar to weaken to push up. You see that it also bounced off that 50% level to push higher, to possibly push higher, perhaps. So if we're looking at this beyond the trend line, beyond yesterday's high, 61.30, 61.30, tight stop, 20 pips, well, relatively tight. Take profit could go up to 45 to that resistance there. In fact, I would just take that high and consider a 40 pip take profit. Hey Liam, how you doing? So looking for this push up, that's okay. We'll do that. Okay, so we'll do that for the Kiwi to push up if we see that dollar weakness. There is also that potential for an upset where it could do that if we see the dollar strength come back into play. Seems a bit unlikely right now, but I'm looking for that move. All right, so 6130, so Kiwi 6130, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside. That never triggered, so SPY 0.6130, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside. Okay. Okay. Diana's asking, explain the news of the pound, how it affects pound. Okay. Pound, in terms of the retail sales, or think two things I said at the start was, the first part I missed out from yesterday was the preliminary GDP quarter on quarter for the UK. But we talked about the month to month, but quarter to quarter, last quarter was revised from 0 to minus 0.1, and this quarter at minus 0.3. So with a consecutive negative GDP number quarter to quarter, or negative consecutive quarters of negative GDP, getting my tongue tied, say it again, consecutive quarters of negative GDP leads to analysts viewing the UK economy as having entered a technical recession, right? A technical recession, and that's why we saw a more significant drop yesterday on release of the GDP number. Through to today, we just had the retail sales number being released. It was minus 3.2, it came out revised to minus 3.3, big change to 3.4. So it went from minus 3.3 to 0, then to positive 3.4. So it's a big change, which is why we saw the pound dollar spike to the upside. But remember, we're still in a somewhat of a mindset that it's in a technical recession, and that's why we see that push back down again, right? So we're going to see that break beyond this high before we might see further upside. I'll get to that shortly. I hope that catches you up, Diana, on the pound news. Judy got taken out on the Kiwi spike. Need to monitor things more closely. Yeah, Kiwi dollar, that it wasn't ready. We were looking for it to get in on rejection. So we wanted it to go up and then reject before looking to sell. So Judy said yesterday, got into some of the setups that we're talking about. A lot of the setups, remember that we want to get into it only. These are setups, so not immediate levels. So you want to look for the, example like this, a test and reject, or look for it to break and close above before you get into that trade. Okay, so take that away for now. Kiwi now still pushing up. I want to see it close above this point. Close above the point before we look for that buy to the upside. Bear with me while I cough away. Similar on the Aussie. So this is a perfect example. We were looking for it to go up, test and reject before we will look to sell down. So given that it's gone up and tested a little bit but did not close below, I will take that away as a trade that we're no longer, a trade setup that we're no longer looking for. Now that it's pushing higher, it does need to break above 6540, right? I want the Aussie to break above 6540 before we see further upside. But bear in mind that this is significantly counter trend. We have been trading to the downside since the 28th of December, pushing lower all the way through the 14th, now showing some rebound. So just be careful, or just keep in mind that this is a counter trend trade. I'll still keep this view at 6555, 20 pips to 60 pips to the upside. Okay. So this one is quite simple. Don't have to type. I'll go take that away because that did not trigger. I'll buy at 6555, 20 to 60 to the upside. Remember, these two setups now are anticipating further downside on the dollar index. You're most welcome there, Judy. The funny thing is I don't cough through the day. When I'm doing my stream and I start talking away, I start coughing. So it's all good. Ronaldo said that my mic is humming. I think it's the, let me just make sure. I think it's the water cooler that's humming away. I hope you guys can still hear me okay. What was I going to do? I lost my train of thought. Okay, I got Aussie to the upside. Down to the US yen. Oh, I want to share this with you. US yen. So I looked at that. Dinah said if retail forecast was 1.5 but actual is 3.4, it means people spend more, which indicates positively on the pound. Yes, that is correct. So Dinah's question is that if it's anticipated to be 1.5 and it got released at 3.4, it means that more people, well, they're spending more than analysts were expecting, which should be positive for the pound, and that's why I was thinking that it should push up, although it's retracing back down now. We'll get to that shortly. I'll tell you a bit more about that. But first, just to share with you a trade that I got into, the yen, right? We were looking, this worked perfectly, where it shot down, tested that dotted line that we have from here, and this area of 23.6, and then rebounded, right? So I was a bit rushed into this, where it came down, and this was on the 15 there. That's what I was looking at, right? So it came down, bounced, and I saw that push back up. Even on the 5-minute, you see a clearer picture of that, a test and reject. But I got this on the 15, so I got in about that point there. I had a tighter, about 30 pip on that, and then I was going for 60, but I caught 50 on that. I think I put it into the group that I caught 60. No, I caught 50 on that one, on the US yen. It took a long time, but just super glad that we did catch that bounce up towards that point. Take that away. This morning I was thinking, right, I was dragging it up. That's why I was dragging it up, thinking that if it breaks above this support turned resistance level, we would see further upside, but it went up, tested this resistance, failed to break above, and turned back down, right, and turned back down. Kalinzi, that stream with Easy will be next week on Tuesday. Okay, so the thing about the US yen here, now this trend line, I want to take a couple of these lines just to clean things up. We'll keep that one there. I don't need it all the way, I just need it there. Let's refine our lines. So we have that point there. Okay, so now with the US yen, the trend line, I don't need anymore. I can take that one away. And okay, so now we have this. It's pushing down, it's sitting just below that resistance. I don't like, I think I was saying this yesterday, don't like selling the yen back down. I'm looking for buying opportunities. So I'll keep this, I'll reserve this idea as a what if the dollar index pushes up, right? What if it doesn't drop and it turns back up? Dollar strength is going to pull the US yen up. So I would still reserve this idea as if it breaks above that resistance, 150.50, stop loss about 30 pips. Take profit, you could go 40 to the previous high, or I deleted that line, but I needed that, or up to this point here, that way, about 80 pips to the upside. You can go almost 90, but I'll say 85 to the upside. Right, so I'll still, let me think, can we go a little bit higher? 150.55, stop loss 30, take profit 80 pips to the upside. That's what I'll be looking for. If it does not break above, it sits there and pushes lower, then I'll look for a possible bounce, or if it goes lower, then I'll look for that possible bounce at that support. Okay, but for now, looking and somewhat hoping that it's going to consolidate along this level and break that resistance to the upside. So 150.55, 30 pip to 80 pips to the upside for the US yen. We did well. We waited for the retracement to complete to buy it up. Now we're looking to buy at 150.55, stop loss 30, take profit 80. Anyone else got onto, I know Lindy got into this trade. Anyone else got into this trade? Let me know, let me know. Now, let me see. Okay, with that, this looks a bit unlikely, but I'm just going to keep it there. We could also look for that bounce, which would be similar to what we saw yesterday. Again, looking at 149.80. Take profit 55 pips to the upside, stop loss 25 pips or 30 pips that way. But I still would like to see that more. Okay, we have two options here on the US yen. Then now to the pound. Look, we gave it a bit of time. Show it to you on a 15-minute. We saw the news release spike up, came back down, sat there for 15, and then now looking like it's pushing back up again. Sometimes the news does need a little bit more time and patience before you're going to see the move develop. Okay, so we're done with that. Take that away. Now what I have here is, I don't need this. This 50 is done. We have this previous high or this level that we want to go past. Yeah, I don't need that. And this point we'll keep here. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. That did not happen. Take that away. Fib retracement down. We're at that, almost at that 50% level. Needs to break past this point to go towards the previous high. So what you could be looking at in this case would be 1.2620. Stop loss tight 20 pips. Take profit up to 55 to the upside. Oh yeah, daily gaming asking for oil. I think someone asked for oil yesterday. I forgot to do that. That just reminded me. Okay, we can do oil as well, WTI later on. Remind me again before I forget. Yeah, dollar weakening, pushing pound dollar up. Good retail sales number, pushing pound dollar up, breaking above that 50% level for confirmation to the upside. So pound dollar on the H1 time frame, I'll be looking to buy from 1.2620, 20 pips to 50 pips to the upside. Okay. In this case, I'll be looking to buy 1.2620. Yes, 20 to 55. Stop loss 20, take profit 55 to the upside. Hey cousin, hey Gigs, how you doing? Good to have you, my buddy from way back. Thanks for joining me, Gigs. Now that's done on the pound. Yes, I still see the dollar index dropping. That's going to work well for the pound. Needs to close above 50 to the upside. Then looking at the euro, Kalinzi was asking about the euro. Sat there in consolidation, did not break to the downside. Take that away. Pushed up. We were sitting in the office looking at this through the morning, thinking at this point, is it going to break down? Is it going to break down? So that we can look to sell down for 1.0750. Did not happen. Take that away for now. Okay, take all the squiggles away. Now that it's broken 61.8 and definitely 50 on the retracement level, we're looking at this possibly pushing back up again. Hey Rohit Kumar, as dollar index is moving bearish, other pairs will move up on higher time frame. Yes, that's what we would anticipate. So, but that's what we anticipate. But if you look at the dollar, euro dollar, big push down, looking like it's going to push up. But bear in mind, we're on the Kiwi, look bearish on the dollar, bearish on the dollar for the Aussie. That's considering we're considering a possible bullish dollar for the yen, bearish on the pound. I would actually keep this as an option. The euro dollar is an option that maybe, right, I won't buy this up, but I'll be looking for selling opportunities on the euro. Okay, so take all this away for now. I'll keep that there. Okay, I'm happy with that. Take that away. What I would be looking for here on the euro, that's 50% there. Let me see. Is it worth buying it up? Okay, there you go. That gives you the answer. Right, we have 50% here, which we saw came very close on Monday, failed to break and turned back down. Now, if you were looking to do something like this, to break above today's high, to trade up, it's only a 31 pip potential profit there. I'm not so keen on that. I would reverse the idea and think, what if that happens? Right? What if it goes up to 50, do something similar to what happened here and turn back down? So I would be thinking maybe some dollar weakness for now and then a possible strength back in play. So 1.08, stop loss 20, take profit, massive 75 to the downside. Okay, so looking now, what could happen? A push down, right? It could come down to around this point and then push back up again and maybe back higher, or come down, test this level and then push back up. So it could look like that. And if that happens, then we'll be looking at that potential move on the euro. If it happens any earlier, I might be a little bit more cautious. I want to see it move a little bit more to test and reject. I'm just thinking now, if we did that, that could work, but let me see. We're going to have the French. We have. No, I think I'll still keep that view. Okay, I'll still look for that 1.08, 20 pips to 75 to the downside. 1.08, stop loss 20, take profit 75 to the downside. Okay, Diana's asking, with US news today, it might change the pound direction. What's my opinion on that? I'm actually thinking that the PPI number might not be, might lead to some dollar weakness, which could push the pound dollar higher. So I think that it might reinforce the idea that it will push the pound up. I know CPI did that, but I think that that's going to hold and push down. Yeah, so I think that with the news, it could change, right? We might see a surprise, but it could change. But I think that if we see the PPI number, it could lead to the dollar index pushing lower. That's why I'm thinking that move, which would reinforce the move higher for the pound dollar. Okay, And what's interesting, you can see here as well, is the pound is trying to push up while the euro is struggling a little bit, showing some potential maybe unwillingness to push higher. So I'm looking for that potential, push up and then reject to the downside. Okay. Yeah, French CPI minus 0.2%, came out as expected. I'm not too particular about individual Eurozone countries. I like to look at the Eurozone as a whole, so not too concerned with that. And maybe that's why it's pushing back down a little bit, but we should see this push up later on. Then onto the US Swiss franc, consolidating at 50. It dropped to test 61.8, still consolidating at that same level, did not rebound to push higher. Okay, at this point, remember yesterday we were saying look for reaction at 0.8810. It is sitting at 0.8810 right now. We're still waiting for that reaction at this point of our support, 61.8 being right there. If the dollar does push down, we're going to see that move to the downside. And I'll show you this, that it's a massive, relatively big counter. It would be a big counter trend move. Let's see. There we go. Right, so it came right down to that 23.6 level, and shorter term 61.8 in that area here, and it's consolidating. One thing you could be thinking about, I'm just thinking whether to be contrarian, to think that it's going to bounce, or continue with the short-term move. Right, dollar still sitting around that point, not doing too much. So I don't like that. Hang on, let me move that away. Okay. Here's an option. What if it bounces back up? 8825, 20 pip stop, and a 60 pip take to the upside. Again, opportunity if the dollar does strengthen. So we're covering our bases here on that dollar scenario, right? It's right in the middle there, so I'm just looking to see if it pushes up, what am I going to do? If it pushes down, what am I going to do? If it pushes back up, then I'll be looking to buy on this, buy at 0.8820, stop loss 20, was it 20? 20, okay, 8825, stop loss 20, take profit 60. 8825, take profit 60. Dinah put up a very good point there, that there is a lot of, seems like a lot of sell side liquidity left behind. Seems like it'll go down. I'm just looking at this, that it came down and it failed at this point, a very similar level. That's why I'm thinking that it could push up, right? Ultimately we know that the overall volatility or direction of the US Swiss franc is very likely to be driven by the dollar index. So if it does break down below 104.20 to the downside, then you'll be looking at it in this scenario, 8780, stop loss 30, no, below that 61, so you go about stop loss about 20, take profit would be about 55 pips to the downside. So quite similar. All right, it's just sitting in that range, but I'm just thinking that with covering the different scenarios, I'll be looking at a possible move back up there. Okay, but yeah, I see your point on the sell side liquidity, just thinking of which area or which is the more less biased version, because we're going to cover the different scenarios. Hey Gorju, good morning, how are you doing? Hey Dan Bosco from Slovenia, how are you doing? Now on to the USCAD. That did not happen, take that away, push right back down because the dollar pushed right back down. It's in that range. I wouldn't do anything on the CAD right now. I'm looking for a reaction along this 61.8 level right here, right? Because it's right in that middle of that support turned resistance area. And then it's quite close to this 61, which has held, actually I'd put that here, which has held quite strongly on Friday last week, on Tuesday this week, to bounce off. What you would be looking for as an opportunity would be if it does drop, maybe that dollar weakness pushing it down to test this level and bounce back up because of what has happened the last 2 times round. Then you'll be looking to buy it up 1.3450, 90 pips to the upside, 25 pips stop loss, right? Looking for that move back up. Your first level could even be 30. Okay, I'll do this. I'll do 90 there. And then I'll consider that point there. Right? So, yes, I could be looking to, how about that? No, I'll keep that there. Look to buy. I could hesitate at that point. If it breaks past that, we're going to see a big move. We could see a big move to the upside. So, US CAD, I'll look to buy 1.3450. 25 pip stop loss, 90 pip take profit with a hesitation at 1.3480. A lot of numbers, I've forgotten half of them already, so let me just write it up. Buy at 1.3450, stop loss 25, take profit 90, hesitation at 1.3480. Take profit 90, hesitation at 1.3480. Okay, there we go. Hey Jimmy, how are you doing? Hey Lingopedia, good to see you. That all makes sense. Okay, then we'll look at the Swiss yen, pushed up, right? Pushed up. We're looking at that consolidating, pushed up, consolidating right now. I did not get into this. I did not think it was going to move that way, that quickly, right? But now it's consolidating here. If you did get into this trade, yes, it might be worth moving this to break even, looking for that take profit at 60. If you did not get into this trade, not worth getting into it now. It's right in the middle. What you want to see is a reaction along this 170.80 level. If it does break, then you have another move higher again. Again, this would be US Swiss franc pushing higher. We could see this move to this point and then a reaction. Okay, US yen dragging to the upside, could also see this drag higher as well. So on the US Swiss franc, look for reaction along 170.80, and then onto oil. Oil, WTI came down. We were looking at this last time. We said look for a reaction. That was a long time ago, so take that away. Don't know what I said there. Broke above 61.8, so I can take that away as well. This one I would keep at about that point. Consolidating here right now. I don't think there are oil flat as weaker IEA outlook weighs on cut hopes. Oil may revisit 29 Jan high of 79.29, which is up there. I think that it looks like, despite what we're reading, right, despite those couple of headlines there, it's that whole move up, it came down, tested 38.2, bounced back up, consolidating at this point. I actually think that we might see a bit of a push back down. Right? I actually think that we might see a bit of a push back down before maybe bounce back up, but because it's consolidating here, I think that it could retest that 76 level before bouncing back up again. Daily gaming sold at 78, which is right there. Again, disclaimer applies, but yeah, I think that there might be a little bit of a downside available on WTI. Okay, and then Diana's asking for pound. I see a question there, Lingopedia. I'll get to that shortly. Diana asking for pound Aussie. Look at that. So pound again, looking like it's still trying, not ready yet, but still trying to push up. Aussie dollar still trying to push up or sitting there waiting. So pound Aussie is sitting right at this level, near this support level or interim support level. Pound dollar gaining strength, pushing to the upside, is going to drag this up, which would form nicely with a bit of that double bottom there that we're seeing, a weak double bottom there that we're seeing. I wouldn't do anything on the pound Aussie unless it breaks above 1.9340 right there, back up. Okay, and wait, let me just do this again. So I wouldn't do anything on the pound Aussie unless it breaks above 1.9340. Wait. With my resistance, firstly one here, my support down here, near-term support down here, then another one down here. Okay, and with this move, looking at this, it should be 61.50 is right there. Something to consider is okay, here we go. So pound Aussie, looking at the pound dollar, if it does push up, then pound Aussie will push to the upside. We could have a big move, but it could be held at 50 to start. So you'd be looking at something like that. If a 40, almost a 50 pip take profit, a tight stop loss of about 20 pips that way. Then if it breaks above that point, you got further upside. If not, then look for it to break down from this support in this way. 1.9265, I want it to clear that. Stop loss 25 to 65 to the downside on the pound Aussie. look at that on the, so don't rush into any trades yet, guys. Look at that on the dollar index, or that move and it just end up as a doji. So there is still that potential that we're going to see a break to the upside. Can't rule that out right now. Okay, and also it comes down to the news event. Hope I answered your question there, Diana, and also daily gaming. Lingopedia asked, hasn't gold taken support at 1990 on daily time frame like previously? It took support at 1970. I don't see 1990. Oh wait. 1990 is here. Okay, in the support area, yes. Like previously, it took support in 1970. There, yes. So anticipating that dollar, so we were looking at that. We said go break below, could trade. It did not break below, it pushed up, right? So we were actually thinking that in that range, if it broke down, yes, it get to the support. Broke higher, it climbed up. It went up, but it's hesitating right now, waiting for the dollar to develop the next move. I would say that at that point, I wouldn't do anything on gold right now. I would wait for a reaction. It looks like, I don't like it as consolidating like that. Look, it's a very tight consolidation at this point. All right, it's a tight consolidation at this point. I would like to see it test 2014 and then decide on the next move. So same thing. Gold, I would in this case be waiting for reaction at possible 2014. All right. Diana's asking if US news comes positive, pound Aussie will go up. Does it? It does work perfectly, I noticed. If US news is positive, wait, where's my pound Aussie? If US news is positive, then pound dollar would go down, right? Pound dollar would go down. Aussie dollar would go down, which is Aussie weakness. Yes, so it would be, if the pound Aussie does push up, it will be because of the Aussie weakness. So it depends on how much the pound dollar moves and how much the Aussie dollar moves to lead to that push to the upside. But it's not always the case. I don't think it's always the case that good US news would push the pound Aussie up. Okay. Hey Darius, how are you doing? Yes, looking forward to our show next Tuesday. There was someone on YouTube asking when is the Easy Markets joint webinar, and it's coming up on Tuesday next week. All right, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, so I hope I answered your question there, Diana, about the news and the pound Aussie. And with that, we're still waiting for something to happen here, for this move to develop on the dollar index. Okay, so please remember, the link again for the Discord channel is there for you guys. If you haven't joined already, help me out, click that like and subscribe button, that thumbs up button, that would help massively. It is Friday. Have a good weekend, have a fantastic weekend ahead. And if you're trading, trade well, trade safe. I will see you all on Monday next week, same time, same place. Take care now.